Welcome guys. Today we are all again back on carbon and its compound. Today a little part of this chapter is remaining, so I will be ending the chapter today. Okay. Now let's see what we will be studying today. The first one we will be studying is coal and petroleum. Okay. Now what is coal? Coal is a complex mixture of compounds of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen and some free carbon. Small amount of nitrogen and sulfur are also present in coal. Okay, so what is coal? Coal is a mixture of many elements. See, there is carbon, there is hydrogen, there is oxygen, there is nitrogen, there is sulfur. Okay, but purely if we see, carbon is the main constituent of coal. Okay, carbon is the main constituent of coal. Now, how coal was formed? We know coal is found under the ground, right? Everyone knows that. But how it comes under the ground? Why is it present under the ground? We will see that, okay? Now, coal was formed by the decomposition of large plants and animals buried under the sea millions of years ago. Now, how does coal forms? Okay, I will show you, okay? Here, see. Suppose this was the land millions of years ago, okay? There was trees. There was animals. Now these trees and animals died. Okay, they died. Now they are dead bodies. They are falling on the surface. Okay. Now after 1 million of years ago, after suppose 1,000 years, a layer of soil is formed above these dead bodies. Okay. Now again after 1,000 years, another layer of soil forms over it. In this way, after millions of years ago, millions of years, after millions of years, the dead bodies will be buried under lot of layers of soils. So they will be under high pressure and temperature, right? Now, due to this high pressure and temperature, these dead plants and animals transforms into coal. Okay, this is how coal is formed. Now let's see how petroleum was formed. Now what is coal and what is petroleum? Where is the difference? Coal and petroleum? Now you can see very much that coal is a solid while petroleum is, petroleum is the oily liquid. Now there is another difference, how coal was formed and how petroleum was formed. The formation is totally different. See, petroleum was formed by the decomposition of the remains of extremely small plants and animals buried under the sea millions of years ago. Now, these were large plants and animals. So, decomposition of large plants and animals will take a longer time. So, in the same period of time, they will remain solid while the small plants and animals will become liquid. So, small plants and animals forms petroleum while large plants and animals forms coal. Okay, now let's move on. Now the main question is, which substances burn with a flame? You have seen substances burning with flame, and there are lots of substances which does not burn with flame even if we heat it. Now which will burn with flame and which will not? Okay, those substances only burn with flame which gives vapors while burning, and the vapors are also inflammable. Now let's see, if we take water, suppose there is a beaker or you can say a bucket, there is water in it and we are heating it. What will happen? Water will not catch flame, right? It will form vapor. Now since these vapors are also not inflammable, so water will not catch flames. Now in the same way, if we see a paper, if we burn a paper, it will give off vapors. These vapors are inflammable and paper is getting heated, so paper will also catch flame but water will not. So this thing is very important, that vapors that they are releasing are also inflammable, and those substances only can catch flame which gives a vapor while burning. No other substances will give off flame. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Now what are the types of flames? With the amount, according to the amount of oxygen supplied, there are two types of flame. If the oxygen supplied is insufficient, that is, the required oxygen for burning of the fuel completely is not met, then the flame produced will be a yellow colored flame. Okay, and when the oxygen supply is sufficient, then the flame burns with completely blue flame. But both of them can also come together. For example, a candle flame. See, everybody knows that this part comes with a blue flame, right? And the outer part comes with a yellow flame. Here blue flame is not shown, but you can see that if you burn a candle, and in the middle there is a black part. Okay, now the outermost, that is outer zone of complete combustion, that is blue colored. Okay, now the outer zone is blue. Why? Because the outer zone is getting sufficient amount of oxygen, so the outer air is burning completely, there is a sufficient supply of oxygen, so it is a blue flame. But the inner portion, now if we see, there is oxygen in the surrounding, and this part is using up those oxygens. Now a very little amount of part will reach this layer, so this layer will get insufficient amount of oxygen, so this layer will be a yellow flame while the outer layer is a blue flame. That is why we see different types of color. And the interesting thing is that this part, the innermost part, is what? It is black. Why? Because this part is totally unburned. No flame is there. Nothing burns here. Okay. That's why it is the coldest part, and this is unburned wax vapors. Now this is why candle flame have so many colors. Let's see the next one. Now this is the important thing. Sorry, it will be AL, not LA. Okay. Chemical properties of carbon compounds. Okay. We will see the chemical reactions. So the first reaction that carbon compounds is seen is combustion. Now, what is combustion? The process of burning of carbon compound in air to give carbon dioxide, water, heat, light is known as combustion. Now, for example, if we take a hydrocarbon like methane, CH4, right? Methane is CH4, and we burn it with oxygen, O2. So it will give off what? Carbon dioxide, water, heat and light is not shown in reaction, so we will only write CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and H2O, which is water. Now this reaction is not balanced, right? You see, there is 4 hydrogen here, 2 hydrogen here, so we will put here 2. Now this is balanced. Okay, so this is a combustion reaction. This is the combustion reaction of methane. Similarly, if we see for ethane, C2H6, it is ethane, right? Plus O2. gives off CO2 and H2. Similarly, the product will remain same, only the balance will differ. Okay, now there are two carbon here. Now it is balanced. Okay, let's move on. So next we have substitution reaction. It is also an important reaction. Saturated hydrocarbon in presence of sunlight and halogen. Now this halogen, I have said before also, comprises of fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, right? Gives substitution reaction. Now this fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine is also written as X. X is given for halogen. I will be showing a general formula as well as an example. Now for general formula, with an alkane, say CnH2n plus 2. This is a saturated hydrocarbon, right? Plus X2. Now halogen remains in this form, Cl2, chlorine gas, in presence of. Now if it is chlorine, then only sunlight. If bromine, it will be dark. For chlorine, no reagent will be required. Okay, so I am writing here reagent, not sunlight. Okay, you should remember that for chlorine only sunlight is required. Reagent. Now what will happen here? One hydrogen of this compound, okay, one hydrogen of this compound will be replaced by one halogen, and the hydrogen that will be replaced will also bond with one halogen. So one halogen will come here, that is CnH2n plus 1 and an X. One hydrogen subtracted, and that hydrogen will bond with one halogen from X2, right? So it will form HX. This is the general thing. Okay, now for example, if we take CH4 and chlorine gas, Cl2, what I said, there will be sunlight, right? Sunlight, sun. So it will form what? CH. Now 4, from 4 one hydrogen will be subtracted, so CH3 will be there and a Cl, and the hydrogen that is subtracted with bond with the remaining chlorine, that is HCl. Now Cl can again replace an hydrogen, so what will form? CH2Cl2. Again it can replace, so CHCl3. It will replace till all the hydrogen is used up, and the last time it will be CCl4. Now CHCl3, it is called chloroform, and it is carbon tetrachloride. You can remember the name or not, it is upon you. Now let's see the next reaction. Yep, it is addition reaction. Now it is an important thing that substitution reaction is only given by saturated hydrocarbon, while addition reaction is given by unsaturated hydrocarbon. Okay, for example, if we see ethene, what is that? CH2 double bond CH2, and if we add hydrogen gas H2, we will add a reagent, that is nickel. Ni. It is a catalyst, okay, that will increase the speed of this reaction. So one hydrogen from H2, one hydrogen will be adding here, another hydrogen will be adding here. So it will be CH3. This is what we call addition reaction. Okay. Now let's see the next reaction. Now that's complete with the reactions. Now we will see some important compounds of carbon. Okay. The first compound is ethanol. What is ethanol? I have discussed it during the IUPAC nomenclature also. Ethanol is eth1-ol. Ethan-1-ol. So eth, what does eth mean? It means 2 carbon, and means it is a saturated alkane, so it will be H6, but one hydrogen is saturated with a ol, that is alcohol, so C2H5OH. This is what is ethanol, that is ethan-1-ol. You can draw the structure in the home by the process I have shown during the previous video. Now first thing we will discuss is physical properties. Now this is a very important compound. Ethanol is colorless liquid having pleasant smell and burning taste. It is a colorless liquid, right? Just like water, there is no color, but it is volatile. What does this mean? If we take a beaker of ethanol and let it remain open in the air, all this ethanol will evaporate on its own, and after some time you will see there is no ethanol left. This is what is meant by volatile. What does volatile mean? It have a very low boiling point of 351 Kelvin. So at room temperature it will start boiling and it will evaporate. That's why it is volatile. It is lighter than water. So it is lighter than water. If we take a beaker, you can take a bucket also, and take water and ethanol, it will get separated just like oil, and ethanol will be left here, water will be left here. But this does not happen because ethanol is miscible in water, that is ethanol gets dissolved in water, but oil does not. But the weight of ethanol is lighter than water, that is the density of ethanol is lighter than water. Okay. Now ethanol containing 5% water is called rectified spirit. This rectified spirit is a very important thing. It is used as an antiseptic when you get a cut. Rectified spirit is used for sterilizing that cut, okay, a bruise or a cut. It is used for sterilizing that, okay. Now next we have chemical properties. We will be seeing the reactions. Now first reaction is combustion, as well. So ethanol is highly inflammable, it catches fire easily. So ethanol, if we start combusting ethanol, it will catch flame easily, okay, and forms carbon dioxide and water vapor. Same way, just like the alkanes, C2H5OH, if we heat it in presence of oxygen, it will form CO2 and H2. Okay. So this is the combustion reaction of ethanol. You can try to balance it in the home. I am not balancing it. The next reaction is oxidation reaction. When ethanol is heated with alkaline potassium permanganate solution, it gives ethanoic acid. Now, what is alkaline potassium permanganate solution? Well, what does alkaline mean? What is alkali? Alkali is a base, a type of base. All bases, all alkalis are bases, but all bases are not alkalis. Okay, alkali is a kind of base. Now, what is potassium permanganate? It is KMnO4. It is potassium permanganate. It is a purple colored. Okay, it is purple colored. Now, if potassium permanganate solution is mixed with an alkaline solution, it becomes alkaline potassium permanganate solution. Now, if ethanol is treated with this alkaline potassium permanganate solution, it will become ethanoic acid, that is acetic acid, CH3COOH. Now, what will happen here? What we will having here? CH3CH2OH, right? This was ethanol. After oxidation, this CH2 will transform into CO. Okay. After oxidation, this CH2 will transform into this CO. Okay. That's why ethanol will transform to CH3COOH. There is a mechanism of this reaction, but mechanism is for higher classes. Reaction with sodium metal. Now, if we add sodium metal to ethanol, what will happen? Ethanol reacts with sodium to form sodium ethoxide and hydrogen. Ethanol reacts with sodium to form sodium ethoxide and hydrogen. Now, what does this mean? CH3 CH2OH plus Na, that is sodium, gives simply this hydrogen will come out and this sodium will come here. Okay, the simple reaction, just the hydrogen is kicked out from the alcohol. Okay, ONA. Na will kick out the hydrogen from its home and sit there himself, and H2 will come here. H2 gas. This is what happened when sodium metal react with ethanol. Now, it is dehydration. What does dehydration means? Dehydration is opposite of hydration, that is water will be eliminated. When ethanol is heated with concentrated sulfuric acid at 443 Kelvin, it gets dehydrated to give ethene. Concentrated sulfuric acid. We will heat ethanol with concentrated sulfuric acid at 443 Kelvin. Now, ethanol was there, CH3, CH2, OH. We give sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, and it is concentrated. Okay, that concentrated has a very important meaning. You have to write it 443 Kelvin. It is concentrated. Okay, so OH from here and one hydrogen from here will come out and form water. So what will be remaining? From CH3 one hydrogen came out, so it will become CH2, and from CH2 one OH has come out, so it will remain CH2 and a double bond will form, right? To balance carbon's valency, and H from here and OH from here will bond together and form water. This is dehydration of ethanol. Let's see the next reaction. Reaction with ethanoic acid. This is called esterification. Ester is a sweet smelling compound, just a fruity smell, okay? Ethanol reacts with ethanoic acid on warming in presence of few drops of sulfuric acid. Again sulfuric acid is used to form sweet smelling ester ethyl ethanoate. Now what will happen here? CH3, CH2, OH. It is ethanol plus ethanoic acid, which is CH3, COOH. In presence of sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, gives what? Gives ester, which is CH3, CH2. C double O CH3. Simply what will happen, OH from here and H from here will come out and a bond will form between these two. Okay, this is ester ethyl ethanoate. This is ethanoate. This is ethyl group. Naming of ester group I have not shown, okay, but it will be there in the higher classes. You can try to do it in the home also. The simple way it will be happen. Ethanoate, OH have been used for ester group. Okay, so this is esterification reaction. Now there are tests. First is sodium metal test. Small piece of sodium metal is added to alcohol, gives off hydrogen vapor bubbles. It was in the chemical properties, sodium metal reaction with sodium metal. And the second test is ester test. The organic compound is heated with glacial ethanoic acid in presence of few drops of sulfuric acid, gives us sweet smell. This sweet smell comes from this compound. Okay, these two tests I have discussed in the chemical properties, so I will not be discussing again. Now the main thing is uses. What are the uses of ethyl alcohol? Ethyl alcohol used to make paints, varnishes, liquors, medicines, etc. It is used for these things. Okay, ethyl alcohol is used as solvent. Many compounds dissolve in ethyl alcohol, which does not dissolve in water. Okay, so that is why ethyl alcohol is used as a good solvent. Used as medicines such as tincture iodine, cough syrup, etc. Everybody knows ethyl alcohol is used in cough syrup. Now what is tincture iodine? Tincture iodine is a antiseptic. It has a particular composition which you will be studying in class 12. Now used in alcoholic drinks. It is used in alcoholic drinks. Used as antiseptic for sterilization. Okay, these are the uses of ethyl alcohol. These uses are very important for your board exam. The next compound is ethanoic acid. First we will be seeing physical properties. Everybody knows what is ethanoic acid, right? this acetic acid which is CH3COOH. CH3COOH. Now, the physical properties of ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid is a colorless liquid having a sour taste and smell of vinegar. It is a acid, so it will always have a sour taste. Now, it has a boiling point of 391 Kelvin. When pure ethanoic acid is cooled, freezes to form a colorless ice-like solid. This pure ethanoic acid is called glacial acetic acid. Also, ethanoic acid is miscible with water. It dissolves in water completely, just like ethanol. Now, next we have chemical properties. The first reaction is reaction with carbonates and hydrogen carbonates, which is also called bicarbonates. Ethanoic acid gives off carbon dioxide gas with carbonates and bicarbonates. For example, if I use sodium bicarbonate and sodium carbonate, CH3COOH with sodium carbonate, Na2CO3, or sodium bicarbonate which is NaHCO3, right? What does it gives off? It gives off carbon dioxide gas and sodium ethanoate will be formed, CH3COONA. So what is happening? From this CO3, CO2 is coming out. Hydrogen gas will also form, like H2 gas will form, CO2 gas will form, and CH3COONA will be formed. Okay. Now the next reaction is sodium hydroxide. Ethanoic reacts with bases to form salt and water. Simply neutralization reaction. Acid with a base form a salt and water. Okay. I don't think I need to explain a neutralization reaction. You know very well. Just like NaOH and HCl form NaCl and water, here will be ethanoic acid, that is acetic acid plus NaOH gives up water and sodium ethanoate. Next reaction is reaction with alcohol. Just as like alcohol with ethanoic acid give ester, ester with alcohol also, ethanoic acid with alcohol also gives ester. Okay, same reaction. Now, tests for carboxylic acid. The first test is sodium bicarbonate test. If I add sodium bicarbonate with carboxylic acid, it gives carbon dioxide gas. In this way, we can identify whether it is carboxylic acid or anything else. Ester test. I will add an alcohol with carboxylic acid and it will give ester, which has a fruity smell. This test is common for alcohol as well as carboxylic acid. Now, the uses. Dilute ethanoic acid is used as a food preservative. Ethanoic acid is used to form cellulose acetate, which is an artificial fiber. Cellulose acetate is an artificial fiber. So, ethanoic acid is used to form cellulose acetate. Next, ethanoic acid is used to form acetone. Acetone is a very important compound. It is CH3CO. It is ketone, okay? A ketone compound, CH3. This is acetone. Used to form dyes, blood sticks, etc. and used to coagulate rubber from latex. These are the uses of ethanoic acid. Now let's see the next thing. Next we have soaps and detergents. The last topic of this carbon and its compound chapter. Now what is a soap? How does soap look like? It is very important structure. This is a carbon ring. Okay. Here we have CH3, CH2. Starting from here CH3, then CH2, then CH2, then CH2, then CH2, 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 and then C minus, and then Na plus. Since this whole part is made of only carbon, that is covalent part, it is hydrophobic, that is it is repulsive for water, and this part C minus and Na plus have ionic part, so it is hydrophilic, that is attractive to water. Now these two parts is the main thing which helps in the action of soap. Now let's see the cleansing action. Okay, suppose this is an grease. Grease is an organic compound. Now stearate ions, this is a sodium stearate compound, and this ion C minus up to C is a stearate ion. Okay, now this stearate ion, this hydrophobic part is repulsive to water. In surrounding of this grease there is an water, and it is grease. Grease is not dissolving in water. This hydrophobic part is repulsive to water but attractive to organic compound, so it will go inside the grease, right? See here, it have gone inside the grease, while the ionic part is hydrophilic, that is attractive to water, so it will remain outside. Now these ions these minus charges on top of the stearate ions will be attracted by water. There is a water. These ions will be attracted to water, so an attractive force will be acting on the grease upward, so it will be coming off the cloth. It will come off the cloth, and then all the stearate ions will form a circular ring-like structure like this. It is called micelle. It will form a micelle, and this micelle is helpful in dissolving the grease in water. This is how a soap acts on grease. Okay. Now the next thing we will discuss is detergent. Now the main thing why we use detergent, what are the advantages of detergents over soap? Detergents can be used in hard water, but soap can't. Soap, what is hard water? Water containing magnesium and calcium ions is called hard water. Now soap can't be used in hot water because soap will not give a foam in hard water. The soap will be destroyed in hot water. The sodium stearate ions will be destroyed in hot water, so it cannot be used in hot water. But detergents can be. Now detergents have stronger cleansing actions. It has stronger cleansing action than soap, and it is more soluble in water. These are the advantages of detergent over soap. Now, what are disadvantages? With advantages comes disadvantages. So there will be disadvantages of detergent. Some detergents are non-biodegradable. They are biohazards. Okay, this is the disadvantage of soap. Now, with this disadvantage, the chapter is finished. So, thank you for continuing